Guys, we're back. Another JT's mixtape. This has been a blast. And just to start off, a little business here. I normally don't do this, but I'm probably start just because this is what you got to do. Hey, if you guys are listening on the audio-only podcast, Spotify or Apple, please give me a 5-star review because that would really help me out in the algorithm. But other than that, guys, hey, if you've been watching my channel, please hit the subscribe button. Again, that would help me out. With all that out of the way, Bryan, welcome back to the show. Are you enjoying the process of the JT's mixtape?
Dude, I love the JT's mixtape, bro. It's epic. Like, watch it. Everybody should watch it. It's so entertaining. I love it. You always show me something fun to respond to.
Yeah, I like kind of like not really letting you know what's coming because I've already kind of got an idea what I'm going to show. And I think said people have commented that it's kind of like this is a little. They like this show because it's a little bit therapeutic. Because I think it's a little bit like, you know, sometimes we would get into some darker stuff and decoding Babylon and really serious topics, and it's kind of nice to be able to just kind of. All right, we're done with that. Let's watch a dwarf pretend to be a Viking and play in a rock show.
Yeah, and there's so many things going on in the world. It's good to like, you know, pull apart some of that stuff and give our opinions on it.
Absolutely, and you know, and with that being said, let's get right into it. And so, you know, from time to time, you know, obviously people might say this is self-indulgent, but I'm going to play some of my own videos. And, you know, they're not worthy of full YouTube videos, just like all these other videos are not. So, but I'm going to show this video, and it has something to do with, if you guys follow him on Instagram or some of these other apps, Jay Leno. Have you guys heard the Jay Leno news? So, guys, the Black Eye Club has a new member, Jay Leno. Check this out. Oh, my gosh. It looks like somebody beat the crap out of him. But apparently, it was because he fell down a hill. Now, guys, you know I'm skeptical about a lot of things. I find this story very fishy, though. Just check out the details.
The comedian says he fell down a 60-foot hill.
I said, well, the hill doesn't look that steep. Let me take it down! And then
You rolled down a hill?
Oh, shit.
That's not true.
No, that's true.
Jay Leno says he was staying at a Hampton Inn about 30 miles outside of Pittsburgh on Saturday night when he wanted to have dinner at a local restaurant before his show. Instead of walking a mile and a half down the road, he decided to take a shortcut down the hill. Not a good idea. This is believed to be the steep incline he tumbled down.
Well, I hit a bunch of rocks. It was 60 feet.
Incredibly, the famous workaholic legend performed just 3 hours later.
He fell down a hill, and he looks awful. His face is all jacked up. He's got a black eye. He even goes so far as to show the reporter his jacked up eye, like we don't already know. His face is completely black on that one side. Like we don't know his eye's messed up. Bro, we don't need to see that. He's bruised all down that side. He's got a broken wrist, and he's got a missing fingernail or something like that. Okay, so he's 74, and 3 hours later, he performs a comedy show? Bro, don't you have enough money? Can't you take a night off? I gotta be honest, if it was me and I had a podcast scheduled, I'm probably canceling that podcast. I'm probably going to try to rest up a little bit. But just check out the details of the story. 60-foot hill, 3 hours later. Symbolic of something? Probably is. But just check this out too. So apparently he was staying at a Hampton Inn, 30 miles outside of Pittsburgh. Jay Leno. He's got a lot of money. He was staying in Hampton Inn? Really? Out of all the places he could stay, Hampton Inn. Okay, sure, fine. But he was supposedly going to dinner, and it was a 1.5 mile walk. And he took a shortcut down this hill. Obviously it went bad. Jay Leno is a big car guy. He wasn't going to drive. He was going to walk 1.5 miles from a Hampton Inn. What was he going to, Cracker Barrel? What? Come on, guys. Yeah, and then he performs 3 hours later. And then he performs the next night. And then he's got more shows planned. I don't know, guys. I find this story quite incredible. But I'm sure what you guys are really asking, so what is the Black Eye Club? To be honest, guys, I really don't know. Lots of celebrities show up with black eyes. Lots of famous people. I think it's kind of unusual. I mean, I've never had a black eye. I'm sure I've had people who'd wanted to give me one. Probably still do. But I've never had one. Most of my friends have not had black eyes. I don't normally see people with black eyes. But all these famous people have black eyes at some point. Obviously, that's interesting. Are they in the Illuminati? Maybe. Who knows? Probably. It means something, I'm sure. I mean, it could be the one-eyed symbolism. You know, you could have it's typically the left eye these people are bruised on. Is that the eye of Horus? Yes, it is. So it could have something to do with that. It could be like a humiliation ritual, because it's like Jay Leno specifically had to go out in the public to show this off. I mean, I think that's a little bit weird. I mean, if you were Jay Leno, you could afford to rest up and heal up and not let people see you like that. But all these celebrities who are quite vain often make a point to show that black eye off. They don't cover it up with makeup or anything. I find that interesting. So it's kind of like they want people to see it. Is it possibly that they've gotten out of line? And this is kind of like, hey, this is what happens when you get out of line. And you're not going to be able to cover it up. I don't know, guys. What do you guys think? Do you guys think this is sus, like I do? I know you guys do. Let me know in the comments if you know more about the Black Eye Club and if you want to hear more about it. I was trying to get my buddy Demon Racers to tell us more about it. And if you want to hear that, let him know in the comments. Appreciate it, guys. Love y'all. So, yeah, I put a shout out to you, and I was like, yeah, obviously, just, Bryan, what do you think of that? Jay Leno, I mean, supposedly has about $3 billion worth of cars. He's 74. He's never looked like a workout guy. Was he really going to walk over a mile to go to dinner?
I mean, maybe somebody saw him walk into the forest, and maybe that was his excuse or something. Like, I feel like walking down a hill, it does scream of suspicion. The car guy with a ton of money staying at the Hampton Inn, walking down a hill, it totally screams of suspicion. Why the Hampton Inn? Like, this dude, is he broke? Is he lost all his money? Is he what is going on?
Well, yeah, some people would say that, like, he's not pretentious, so he stays at a Hampton Inn. But I mean, it's like, what Hampton Inn screams to me when it's saying 30 miles outside of Pittsburgh, I'm thinking like, like you're driving down 95 on the interstate, and that's the major highway that goes north on the East Coast. And it's just like, these are the kind of hotels you would see as you get up to towns, and it would be straight off the interstate. And that's the kind of place that would have this big, tall embankment, right? Because, because they're up high so that you can see them from the road. That's why the signs are really tall. Yeah, like Jay Leno staying. I mean, I think it's funny. Everybody has said that. Jay Leno staying at a Hampton Inn. Why? Like, why would he stay at a Hampton Inn? I mean, like, I'm not saying I wouldn't stay at a Hampton Inn, but I would say that if I had Jay Leno money, no, I would not be staying at a Hampton Inn. Not that they're not fine, but I mean, like, you got to understand too that
the amount of people that would interfere with him, like, just being there.
Right. Or, because Jay Leno could pick any venue he wants. Like, I'm sure he's that level of comedian where, like, he could play any kind of level of place he wants to. And he could choose to do it. And obviously it's kind of weird. It's like Greensburg or something like that. Because he wasn't even playing in Pittsburgh. He was playing like that around that area where he was playing.
I would love to look up how many Masonic lodges are near that Hampton hotel that he stayed at, supposedly. And I would look up how many Masonic lodges and if there is any kind of ritual camping grounds, like, or any suspicious activity in that environment. Because, like, people like, okay, so like the Black Eye Club, let's just talk about the Black Eye thing. Like, because, like, this is very suspicious. And, like, people aren't fully aware of exactly what it is because they don't understand. But, like, this is it's a ritualistic, it's called hazing, right? It's hazing. It's a hazing ritual.
Possibly. Do you know this, or is this like your best inference of like what you think this is?
I would say it is partially inference. Okay. So, but I'm going to infer it from understandings of other things that I'll relate to you that I do know about. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I guess full disclosure is that, like, we are speculating. We don't know. I mean, I think that we've established quite a pattern with, like I said, when I only showed in that video a fraction of the people who have black eyes who are celebrities. Yeah. There's so many examples. I mean, like I said, it's unusual for people to have black eyes, especially it's like, I'm a guy who played sports and stuff, and I never had a black eye. Even into my adulthood, I've played a lot of sports. Like, I've never had a black eye.
I don't think I had a black eye as an adult. I did have a black eye once as a child, but I've never had a black eye as an adult. Like, so it is very unusual and rare to get a black eye. And so that was like, and it was literally from playing sports. A football as a child went straight into my eye, but it had to go like directly into my eye.
Right. Yeah. So what are the odds that all these celebrities would have black eyes, and not only that, I would say
Mm-hmm,
90 something percent of them are the left eye.
mm-hmm.
I mean, they not all of them. I won't say it's not all of them, but I mean, most of the time, it's the left eye. And let's go back to the hill real quick. People had made comments that he fell down. Of course, it said 3 hours, 60-foot hill, 30 miles outside of Pittsburgh. It's kind of like there's a lot of threes and sixes in this story. That being said, he's only really bruised on the one side. He does have a broken wrist on the right side, and he's got his finger. It's like his fingernail came off, but like he's got no scratches on him.
Yeah,
you know, you'd think he'd be more scraped up. It does almost look like somebody took a 2x4, as my buddy Max Powers said, and just whacked him right across the side of the face, because he's really bruised, but it's not. It doesn't not look like if you hit. I think if you rolled and you hit rocks, you would have scrapes and cuts.
Yeah, it would cut you for sure.
And it probably wouldn't be mostly on one side. It would probably be kind of even. Right?
Well,
you'd have marks on the other side of your face if you got beat up like that, I think.
Well, if you're rolling down a huge hill. But I mean, that's not. I mean, it's definitely without scraping is pretty suspicious. And then, but I mean, like we're just speculating. But I mean, what we could do is I could say that, like, okay, we just got to talk about like how the occult works and how this kind of stuff happens. Because okay, so like demons enter through trauma. Demons enter you through trauma. The occult works off of demons. Okay, like hazing rituals are for the sake of creating traumatic experiences, traumatic events, like sacrificing people or children or whatever. Like they do it for the sake of creating a traumatic response in you, and then they can put the thing into you. The demon can enter to you, because what happens is the mind creates a void space from the trauma, and then it's got this cavity that is like your brain kind of goes to hide, and then when in that empty cavity, they interject demonic entities, and this is how you take over people's bodies. I know it sounds crazy. This is literally how it works. Like, and I can tell you right now, it works. Like I can say something right now that if I say it, every single person watching will feel it. Okay. The R word. Can I say the R word? Which is like,
no, don't.
This sounds like that fruit.
Yeah, great. You can say grape. You can say
grape.
Yeah,
okay. Grape. If I said the R word for that rhymes with the word grape, if I said that, like people, guys, girls, whatever, you would have a feeling inside of you that would go, ugh. That feeling, that is how social programming, like this is how like hypnotic induction works. Like they say things that are trigger words that have been planted into your mind, into your perspective. Everybody has like a negative connotation with this type of word and these things, and they influence you through trauma related pictures and images, right? So in the same sense, they do this in these sort of like occult things, but they do it in different forms. So like one of them is the foot stomping ritual. So there is a Masonic foot stomping ritual where they stomp on your foot. And there's a bunch of celebrities that are going around with one broken foot, and they walk around with this broken foot, and it's like their foot got smashed or whatever. Like this is part of another Masonic hazing ritual. I think it's like an initiation ritual where the Masonic, they're like, I step on your foot and blah, blah, blah. And they have some ritual behind it. So the eye punching thing is obviously probably along the same lines. It creates a remembrance in your head. I got stepped on my foot by so many people, this hurt, or I got punched in the face by everyone in my club, went through and hit me on the side or punched me in the face or whatever. And so and they go through and do this. And so they line up the people, they go through and hit the person, and it creates some kind of traumatic response because you see all these people hitting you or punching you or whatever. And then like you're taking this sort of trauma, and then it creates a void space response. And then they interject demons into you. This is why they do these kind of rituals. I know it sounds like silly or whatever, but it's kind of and it's also potentially a punishment. Like had somebody, and because, obviously Jay Leno's been a part of the club for a while.
Yeah. See, I think
so.
That's what I was going to say is like that if you actually look at some of the people who got the black eyes, they're old men. They're accomplished people. Like, I mean, when you see George W. Bush with the black eye, we already know that he went to Skull and Bones in Yale. I imagine he got hazed then, and we don't even want to really know what the hazing involved in that process. I think it
they've
involves
already
a
admitted to
coffin, a
some of it.
bowling ball, and all kinds of wicked stuff.
Oh yeah, there was definitely some homosexual activities
it's
involved in that hazing thing that somebody
really
uncovered.
dark. So so it's kind of like, if you're Jay Leno, like, you would kind of think, like, I think that's the interesting part about a lot of the secret society stuff and the people who are involved in, like, did they do things to be really old? We played a clip from was it Bob Dylan, and he was on that famous 60 Minutes interview where he acts really weird about, like, he made a deal with destiny and he's keeping up his end of the bargain. It's like, yeah, because it's like, yeah, the obvious question is, why are you still doing this? And it's, why are so many of these really old people still doing that? I mean, of course, I'm all tongue in cheek in that video about, like, don't you have enough money? Like, I mean, everybody knows, like, if you have an employee and they came to work with their face looking like that, you would say, what are you doing here? Go home. Obviously, the first question would be like, are you okay? Like, no, you're not working today. Like, so they try to spin it as, oh, he's a workaholic. And it's like, no, that's weird. Like, it's weird. Like, I mean, you think about it, 3 hours later, it's like, if your face got blackened like that and your eye got smashed like that and you had a broken wrist and you had a missing fingernail and you're all bruised up down the side, it's likely he had a concussion. He's 74 years old. You said you wouldn't say,
and he got back up and performed 3 hours later.
Like, that is really soon. Yeah, that's really soon. Did he eat dinner afterwards? Did he? It's funny. It's almost like, reminds me of that movie, This is Spinal Tap. I have a practical question. So did he make it to dinner? Did he still go eat? No, he obviously had to go to the hospital after all that. So, I mean, like, you even think just going to the hospital, how long would that have taken? You ever been to the emergency room lately? The hospital process is usually not very smooth. So he would have, like, been going likely directly from the hospital to the show to perform. And then how funny was he, other than the way he looked? The funniest thing was, actually, the funniest thing was about that whole video was the reporter.
The news reporter says, no way. He doesn't even believe it.
He said, no, you didn't.
No, yeah.
It was like, it was like he couldn't help. I mean, it was like the whole thing was, he was incredulous. Like, there's no way that happened. Just like all of us did.
Dude, yeah, literally the news reporter is hilarious because he straight up says, no, you didn't. He calls him out. So funny. Oh,
that was the best part. Yeah, so I guess the real question, I would say that this has to be past initiation. So I would say that, like, some people said maybe he obviously didn't endorse Kamala.
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe he didn't come out and do his Kamala routine that he was supposed to do, and maybe that this is the payment for that.
Well, I think he's kind of, like, famously somewhat conservative. I mean, I don't really know, like, how much. I think that he's more to the conservative persuasion, and he said it was a fair election and all this kind of stuff. So was that, like, his comeuppance for not supporting the thing?
Yeah, the thing that they wanted.
But yeah, so I mean, but obviously a lot of those people who do have black eyes, obviously they seem like they're pretty much in the club. But I mean, is it a situation where, like, you're getting too big for your britches, or it's like you want to stop doing this stuff, you're not going to do it? But I do think it's weird that, I mean, obviously I mentioned the video, the one eye symbolism, the eye of Horus, and the fact that it's like he had to lift up his eye patch to show that his eye looked like that. Like, you don't need, like, I wouldn't do that. I mean, it would be like, you already, like I said, that's what I was trying to say in the video. It's like, my face is already completely black. I don't need to show you that my eye is closed too. You know what I mean?
Why do you even have an eye patch? Like, it's just such a weird.
Well, yeah.
Thing.
Why would you have an eye patch if you're going to take it and show people what your eye looks like?
Is it just
he should have had a face? He should have had a patch over his whole face, because his face on that one side was completely black and messed up.
Yeah, just a mask. He should have just worn a mask.
Yeah. There was some people who mentioned something called the Vril Society, and I know that goes back into, like, the Germans and all the weird stuff they did. And I know that there's some stuff on YouTube that we couldn't really talk about revolving that. And to be honest, again, we don't really know, other than, hey, we've noticed patterns, and the patterns are pretty clear that this is not totally uncommon. I was saying Jay Leno should have had this horse.
That would have helped.
How awesome is that horse, though?
Dang. It's
Yeah,
like a vertical hill.
That's pretty
Horse is
incredible,
just
huh?
like, okay.
Well, enough of that. All right, let's see. Oh, this right here you go, Brian.
What's going on with that song, that Bruce Springsteen song, where he goes, "Hey, little girl, is your daddy home?" Did he go and leave you all alone? That's all I say. I just got, all I say is, why am I hearing this in a Chipotle? Like, that's not an appropriate thing to hear at the dentist.
It's not.
When they were recording it in the 70s, no one on the other side of the glass, when he was just like, "Is your daddy home?" No one was like, I lean in on the mic and it's like, "Bruce,
Yeah.
weird, man."
Yeah.
He's like, no, hear me out. I got a bad desire.
So disturbing. I don't even know what that song is.
You don't know what the song is?
No, I don't even know what the song is.
I mean, it's called "I'm on Fire," but I mean, like, obviously, the lyrics are like. I mean, he was right. Those are the lyrics of that song.
That is very disturbing. Like, what? Like, dude, have you heard about the songs that Elvis wrote, the stuff that he did too? That I've recently seen the music videos of him dancing with like some 14, 12-year-old girl, singing to her like he wants to be with her, and you're like, what the heck is this? Have you seen it?
I have not seen
my
the Elvis
gosh.
one specifically, but I mean, like Jerry Lee Lewis, the Great Balls of Fire guy, he famously or infamously married his like 13-year-old cousin.
Wow.
Yeah, and then, but there was actually a pretty decent TikTok account, or a pretty funny one, and it was this kind of this overweight black guy, and I guess he would just kind of make faces as he was listening to these songs where like it's like songs we've heard.
We didn't know how wicked they were.
We obviously did not make the connections in our brain of like what these lyrics actually mean, but like when you actually listen to them in that kind of way. Another good example of it is like that George Michael song, Father Figure. It's like, I will be your father figure, put your tiny hand in mine. And you're like, wait, what? It's already weird. But I mean, like those, like there's so many examples of songs like that where, yeah, I mean, maybe this is obviously demonic. That like this stuff's in there. They got catchy music to go along with it, and before you know it, people are humming along this song in their head, and it's like, yeah, this is dark. This is wicked. This is like the stuff. This is some Epstein type stuff, like that where P. Diddy. I mean, obviously, this is the industry that P. Diddy like flourishes in.
Yeah, there's spells. There's spells being cast on people to normalize you to the occultic things that you don't even realize. Like Elvis is singing to freaking 12-year-olds, and he's saying little girl and like weird stuff in the song, and you're just like, this is what he meant by little girl, and you're like, this is a whole nother level of disturbing. And you like, see this
like I
stuff.
said, Jerry Lee Lewis literally marries his like 13-year-old cousin.
Who was that other guy that married his daughter? That other dude that famous actor guy or whatever who Woody Allen, is it? Woody Allen who married his daughter?
It was like, Woody Allen, notorious creep. Obviously, then you have like the guys like Roman Polanski, which we won't even get into all the wicked stuff with. You ever heard of that story? Roman Polanski, I believe, is the director who directed Rosemary's Baby. He was married to Sharon Tate. Sharon Tate is one of the people who got unalived during the Manson stuff. And before that, they found tapes of all the wicked stuff he did, and he had to flee. I mean, obviously, like I don't even get into all the stuff. You guys can look that up if you want to. I don't recommend you do. He's bad. So he moves to Europe to avoid prosecution, and this guy is a literal rapist, and he's celebrated in Hollywood.
Wow.
Celebrated. I mean, like people like famous actors would get up getting their Oscar, and they would be thanking him and talking about how great he is.
Didn't that happen with another celebrated? Who is that guy that writes all those scary movies who did the Poltergeist, and then the Poltergeist girl died? The little girl from the Poltergeist died.
Oh yeah, that's another
Spielberg?
really.
Was that Spielberg?
No. Spielberg didn't do Poltergeist. I'm actually sure who did Poltergeist. I mean,
There-
it's probably
there
really
was-
famous.
I think it was Spielberg was involved or somebody was involved like that they ended up the little girl who was in the Poltergeist movie or the one with the television. I think it's the Poltergeist movie.
Yeah,
And-
no, you're
yeah.
right. I remember the
Yeah.
the
The
what
little
is she-
girl
what-
died from internal bleeding from her rectum.
Oh,
Afterwards, she died like right after the movie, and they found out that it was the director, whoever directed the Poltergeist.
oh
and
no,
they-
I,
and
I,
so-
I, I did
Yeah,
not hear
and there
that.
was like connections to it, and like straight up, he paid them off to like never talk about it, I guess. Yeah, so look up who is the director of the Poltergeist. Look it
Oh, well,
up.
check this out, bro. So, well, I just looked this up. So, when Elvis and Priscilla Presley met in 1959, Elvis was 24 and Priscilla was 14.
Oh my gosh! See, that's what I'm saying. That it was so disturbing.
They married in 1967 when Elvis was 32 and she was 21.
Wow.
Yeah, I
Wait.
mean, but like, yeah, gross. Obviously, gross. You looking up the Poltergeist thing?
Yeah, Tobe Hopper is credited as the director. However, there has been controversy over who directed the film. Controversy of who
what?
directed the film.
Yeah, how is there controversy
Because
over
Spielberg's involvement, because Spielberg was involved in it. Spielberg
Oh,
was
okay,
involved
so
in the
yeah,
film
so I
in
did-
many ways, including writing the story, producing the film, having an intense level of involvement. Some say that Spielberg was the creative behind the blah, blah, blah. Yeah, so I think Spielberg was the one that was accused or something.
that? Oh my gosh, dude. And I kind of
Dismissed.
thought that video was going to be a light, funny one. But I guess it was like it's funny because it is so dark. Like,
Dude, it's so evil. Hollywood is full of so much wickedness, and it's right before our eyes, and it's in our songs, and people think that it's, acceptable make believe or not possible, and they brush it off like it's not actually happening. No, it's been happening. It's been happening since Shirley Temple. Before that, dude, the Shirley Temple even talks about going into an interview with her mom, and the director at MGM stripped down naked in front of him. And Shirley Temple talked about that, and yeah, and she was like, oh, and she's so innocent talking about it, and she said she laughed at the director of the MGM or whatever, and she said the same thing happened to her mom at the same time in the other room, and then they went out, and then she said, you're not going to believe what happened to me, and then her mom was like, you're not going to believe what happened to me, and like acted like she was so naive and innocent to the fact that, dude, your mom probably got something terrible happened to her, and you just got off lucky because you laughed, and your ignorance was somehow protected to some degree.
yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, you can imagine like what's normal to people who grew up in the industry. Like, I mean, they would have no idea what actual normal is. It's even another one that's funny. Well, it's not funny. It's funny how like this was not a secret and we all kind of knew. And I remember like growing up, like R. Kelly in like Aaliyah, they had this really weird relationship. I want to say that like we knew that there was a relationship between the two of them. And I think she might've been 15 at the time. And it was kind of almost like, I don't even know why it wasn't weirder. It was just kind of like, oh yeah, that's something that's happened. And then they got married. I think she was really young. I can't remember how old she was. She was really young when they got married, but obviously they were together clearly before that. And
weird.
And then it's like, oh, well, R. Kelly turns out to be some grade A creep. Oh, who could have seen that coming? I mean, everybody. It was like, it was not, it was, again, it's like, it's the same thing with like Harvey Weinstein and P. Diddy. It's like, oh, I can't believe that. It's like everyone could believe that because again, it was one of these open secrets. And,
dude, another one was Michael Jackson's dad. Michael Jackson interview talks about his dad would get him naked and oil him up and beat him. He talked about this in an interview. Like he was like, yeah, my dad would just get us all naked and then strip us down and oil us up before performances and stuff. And you're like, what? What is that? What does strip
Totally
you
normal.
naked and oil you up mean? And then he talks about him being beat. And he was just like, what kind of abuse has been done to these children, to these people, to Michael Jackson especially? I feel like some major abuse had happened to him.
Yeah, for sure.
Feel really bad for that guy. Like straight up, dude.
For sure. And you know what? Well, of course, we advertise this as being a very light, fun.
We try to.
Well, when we let the content go where it goes. here's interesting to talk about the music industry a little bit more and maybe why it's the way it is.
I said, David, I'd like to ask you a couple questions. I said, I already know the answers, but I've been gone for 5 years. I'd like to know if certain things are still the way they were when I left. I said, do they still take the master to the temple room? Dave said, yeah. I said, do they still have the coven conjure demons into the master? He said, of course. I said, now, I got to know something. What's the main reason for rock music? He says, the same as when you were in, so that we can play spells on people that we couldn't cast spells upon. The master is a tape about as big as the top of this podium that looks like an overgrown 8-track that the album is cut on and is placed in a machine that produces and presses the records and the 8-tracks and cassettes that you buy. After it's been recorded, it's taken in. This is why a master is cut months in advance before it's released. On the full moon, it's taken in to a temple room about the size of this auditorium that is in every one of the major music companies, behind locked doors up in the executive office. And it's placed on an altar sitting in the north of the room and a pentagram engraved in the floor. And 13 hand-chosen witches and wizards and a coven come in and conjure a principality or a power up, usually Regia or something like that, and order him to tell the demons under him to follow every record and every tape coming off of that master.
Interesting. Yeah, that's very true. That's very real. People don't understand how spells work and how witchcraft works and how demons work and how they travel or move. They're not bound by space and time like we are. Demons don't they can go from here to Florida in a heartbeat. Like, they can only exist in one place at one time, but they can divide themselves. Just like it's almost like having children. They can splinter themselves into halves, and they can share information within their mind like almost instantly. So it's very unique how demons move. It's very, I've dealt with a lot of this stuff, like dealing with demons like in other places and then commanding them out of somebody, and a person in another location will have a response because it's the same demon and there's a connection with them, which is very fascinating when you're praying for somebody and you cast out some demon that's shared. But demons, they tether, they portal, they move. And fascinatingly enough, when they said to cast spells on people that they can't normally cast spells on, it is so true. People do not understand how witchcraft and magic works. And it's so obvious. Like, once you see it, you're like, how did I miss that? But like, they play music in like stores and places. You're hearing these subliminal messages, these suggestive programmings like, hey, little girl, this kind of weird stuff being put into these songs. They're going into the subconscious mind. That's how a demon gets to you. People think you have to conjure a demon, you think you have to light candles and do all this witch stuff. No, you don't. You just have to listen to him when he's present. That's it. Like, people know, like, rituals, evocations happen when you observe, hear, or see something that the demon is influencing through. So like, when you hear the demon speaking through the song, you hear the negative words or the evil words or the perverted words speaking through the song, the demon is able to attach to your mind because you received that message. That's how spelling works. You receive the understanding in your subliminal mind, and the demon's going to whisper in your ear now because you listened to it the first time. He's going to say, hey, look at little girls. Don't you think that little girl looks like your friend? Like, and they're going to start whispering these perverted things because you heard it in a song. They're going to say, like, you should kill that person. And they'll start whispering that kind of wicked stuff into your ear because you heard it in a song and you don't even realize that's where it's stemming from. So like, yeah. I don't listen to music, like, straight up. I don't even listen to music at all. Like, well, and because it's once you understand witchcraft and spelling, like like at my level, I don't think it's necessarily bad to listen to all music, but for me, I can't. I don't listen to it. I can't, because I have to be in a state where I can't have anything influencing me or my ability to hear from the Lord at any given moment.
Yeah, the interesting part about that is that, to go back to the previous video when we were playing, that guy who was saying, didn't people like on the other side of the glass in the 70s in the recording studios say that's really blanked up, when it's like, this is the kind of stuff that was happening in the 70s. So that was the David, the guy who was commenting on was with David Crosby, like Crosby, Stills, and Nash, like, so a very famous singer. I think David Crosby might have been with Stevie Nicks, I think. I could be wrong about that, but yeah, like, yeah, really famous musicians, and it's like, yeah, this is a common thing. Now, obviously, a lot of people would say, "No, I don't believe that." But then when you see the dirty parts of the business, it's like, why would you doubt that? I mean, these people obviously don't. They do seem like they've sold their souls in the way that they operate. So they operate on a completely different morality than we do. I believe that lots of these people believe in duality. So I think they do philanthropic things, and they think they can make up for the bad things they do.
They do, and they use the philanthropic things to circumvent the trafficking of the terrible things. Like, just look at Interscope Records, guys. Their eye is got the symbol on the top of it. Just look at the Interscope Records logo. Look up the FBI, what the symbol is. It's literally the little spiral on the top of the eye. They're telling you what it is. Like, they tell you straight up.
There's so many of these symbols that they could not be accidents. And like, and then you see, then they're singing about little girls and little hands, and and then obviously these people are together with people like that, and it's like, so it's not just, it's more like that we should all solve the signs of the things that were very plain and obvious. And I think that so I mean, I guess all that being said, so if you hear that witches are involved and spells are involved, I don't think there's any reason to doubt. And as I'm going to show you a video right now, we're going to just transition real quick. That here's a good example of this, and this is not necessarily like a singer here, but this is somebody who has likely sold their souls.
The timing of this is actually wild. So Kim Kardashian just posted this picture of her and Michelle Lamy, and they looked nice and snuggly. So I wanted to look into their relationship. And these two actually met back in 2013, and they have a lot of photo shoots together. So this is one from 2020, and it looks like they exchange outfits, and there's a lot of these mysterious blurry pictures. And this one in particular is interesting. I can't tell if it's both of them in the picture or just one person, but this is a more recent photo shoot, and they're in a bathtub together, and they're also on a bed together. Now, of course, these photo shoots all have their deep meanings, and you can look up exactly what they mean on their official websites. But I mean, Michelle Lamy even designed Kim's office. So these two are very, very close friends, and they even have FaceTimes and lives that you can see online. Like, check this out.
How are you?
I'm great, Kim. And I'm in bed because it's late, and all those nights we're partying and everything. So tonight I'm in my chairs in bed.
God is good. God is so good.
She doesn't want to say that.
You know what it says? You don't believe in God? Oh, okay. Can I get a God is good?
Hey man, I need you to stop it.
What? Nah, I want to pay. Nigga, what's wrong with God is good?
I'm asking that question.
Get mad about that. I can spread the word. I'm my mama. I can spread the word.
She don't want him to admit God is good around her.
Yeah, so I mean, many people believe that Michelle Lamy is a witch, and if looking at her, do you doubt it? I mean, obviously, we know that you can't always judge a book by its cover, but I mean, like, some books you can judge by their covers. Like, you can tell what kind of book it is. You can judge what kind of fruit that tree bears by just looking at her. And yeah, the fact that, you know, it's funny. We often say, even like our dollar bill says, "In God we trust." And we know that just because you have a belief in God, we know that some people believe in different gods.
Yeah.
But she won't even be willing to say that, because I think she knows what, you know, because what Christians would say is God is good all the time.
Yeah.
You know, but she obviously was repulsed by that thought, because look at the darkness. And if you're Kim Kardashian, why would you want to be with that woman? Like, what? Like, you know, it's kind of like she's kind of like that. Michelle Lamy's kind of a mysterious character. It's just like, yeah, you know, there's rumors that she's an actual witch, and let's just be honest, she's repugnant to look at. Like, yeah, I mean, she looks like a wicked witch from like a Disney movie, right?
Bro, she draws that line on her forehead every day. That little black line on her forehead, and she dips her fingers in black ink every day to make her fingers be more black, her fingertips. Like, it's literally those are ritualistic things. Like she's definitely a witch. Like whether she thinks she's a witch or not, she's performing ritualistic witchcraftic type thing. So it's like pretty obvious she's involved in the occult. And she's married to the Rick Owens guy, and she is very disturbing. Her
Rick
image
Owens,
is
I believe he's like in the like modeling industry, right?
Yeah, but
and
he's called the Dark Lord of Fashion, I believe, something like that they call him, and he's literally about like creating darkness and wicked things, and it's like he does all black with his designs and stuff. And like, dude, the designs that they're creating are always subtly hinted towards something disturbing or human trafficking related, subtly like alluding to this type of bodily mutilation things. It's very disturbing, like a lot of the stuff that they do.
Yeah, so you think he was probably likely the one who was, kind of directing that photo shoot between Michelle Lamy and I mean, it kind of looked like it when he was saying, you won't believe me, was saying like it looked like you couldn't tell if it was both of them in the picture. I mean, I think what they were trying to depict in those pictures was it's like, like a demon is coming at this person. It's like the face is all blurry, and it's kind of like you can kind of infer like something's kind of maybe like a spirit is manifesting. That's what I saw. I mean, like, I don't know. Maybe it's me just thinking that, but I mean, I think that it looks evil. What I saw.
It's totally evil. You can like feel the evilness. It's surprisingly not a lot of witches that are really witches. Like, would you even know that they're witches? Okay. Like people that are really involved in the occult don't usually like show it off like Lamy does. But Michelle Lamy is like clearly showing it off and doesn't even care about it. Like, so like she's like another level of like she's a witch and she don't care, because most of the witches that are real, you wouldn't know they're witches. They're not the type that like paint their fingernails black, and those people are ignorant people. They don't know really what the occult is actually about. They're just buying into the image of it, which is what Rick Owens is selling.
Well, I think it's kind of like, again, you go back to the whole duality thing. I think that in general, like that when we talk about the elites worshiping the devil or whatever, like however you want to say it, in their minds, most of them would picture the angel of light. They'd picture Lucifer, what they perceive as like knowledge and good things. But I do think it's kind of like, you do kind of hear these things. And I remember like a good example is like in the movie, like Doctor Strange, is they practice their certain kind of magic, but there's power in the dark magic. And everyone knows the dark magic involves sacrifice, it involves blood, and it is actually more powerful than the other kind of magic. But then you hear about certain kinds of people like Anton LaVey, who was the head of the Church of Satan, and he would laugh at white magic because he would say
it's the same.
The source is the same. Like you think your intentions are better, but I mean it's like you're getting it from there, and you could say like that. Yeah, they're whatever helps you sleep at night, right? Is that you're doing not as bad magic. But I mean, obviously that's what they teach you in Disney, right? There's good witches and there's bad witches.
And bad witches.
The Wizard of Oz,
the good witch from the West.
There's white witches and then there's the dark witches, the wicked witches. Yeah, so it's all the same. Yeah, that obviously it's not of God. We know that. So obviously, interesting enough, I was doing a podcast this morning and I was talking about Joseph, and Joseph had the power of divination, but he always gave the credit to God. They asked him if he can interpret dreams, and he said, no, God can. So by the Holy Spirit, he could interpret. And same thing Daniel said when he interpreted Nebuchadnezzar's dream. It was, I heard you have the power to be able to interpret this dream. And Daniel said no. Even after Nebuchadnezzar said he was going to kill everybody unless they told him the dream, I would have, if I was around him, I would have said, you're supposed to say yes. And it's like, but he's like, no, but God can. The Most High God can. And this is what he says. So, I mean, yeah, all that being said is like, ooh, once again, brother, ooh, that was disturbing. Here, I've got an interesting one. let's check out this this video that some of these rave concerts. This is really disturbing, Brian. Somebody shared this with me the other day.
Here we go! Weekend warriors, welcome home.
They're straight doing a satanic ritual, like right in front of people. And the dragon. Chandra Kalsula. Yeah, so that was a spell that we just watched.
Bro, like for
straight
real,
up.
like what is that? I mean, like, so obviously this is, I guess I'm getting old. Like, this is a phenomenon, and I'll show you a video in a second that I guess these epic festivals and raves is this replaced like the idea of like the hippies Woodstock, is that they have these kind of techno type raves, but I mean the imagery, oh my gosh, like that is giant Aztec looking demonic Nephilim type things. Like you saw, like it's subtly, you could see obviously their eyes lighting up red. Then you saw the feet. Did you notice the feet of one of those giants? It was like, it looked like it had claws. It looked like it had kind of an animal type, or like maybe like dragon type feet.
Makes sense. Yeah, the like, dude, they blend this into our culture so much, and this is, it's hidden within things. And I think they just did one at another music festival where they had those giant statues as well. So this is like 2 music festivals where they had giant festivals with giant statues of these gods in front of them, where they're doing idolatry worship, like straight up. And they even brought a dragon out. They literally brought a dragon out.
Yeah,
and they're spraying everybody with some chemtrail toxic chemical. I don't even know what that blue toxic chemical they were spraying out of the plane was.
Yeah,
what was that
check
about?
This out, Brian.
Like, dude, I would be so concerned of whatever that chemical was. Wow. Yeah, it's demonic. Yeah, that's casting a spell on people. Chandra kiss. I don't even want to look at it. Like, I don't want to look at it because it's so, like, people don't understand, like, the things that they're like what they're doing when they're doing that. And when you listen to that stuff and when you watch it, you feel something. That feeling that you're getting is the evocation of the demon. Like people don't understand that emotional sensation that you get from watching or listening to that content is the agreement that the demon is solidifying within you.
There's something about that. I remember, so I made a video about that holographic video probably about 1.5 years ago now. And of course, that was when I was thinking the book of Revelation was playing out. And I said, is that possibly like the image of the beast? Because it's kind of like the false prophets given the ability to give the image of the beast breath and words. And I thought, okay, that kind of makes sense. Like that maybe the Antichrist is going to be involved in some kind of a AI type thing. And I remember just saying, like, when I was watching it, though, I just said, it's like awful, horrifying, but it's also a little bit mesmerizing. Like if I'm being honest, like there's something about it. It's like,
well, it's the demon. The demon's
yeah,
calling
no,
you
I mean,
in.
saying
It's
like
a trance.
there's something about it. It is like it is. There's a little bit of an allure to it. If I'm being honest, like I don't.
Well, yeah, of course, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because like
that's why I rebuked it. That's why I didn't even want to watch it. I was like,
no, yeah.
I was like, because I could feel the demonic pull. I could feel the demon pulling at me, like when you're playing it, and like I know. So you're right. You're absolutely right. There is a demonic pull that puts that spell and that thought and the idea in your head. And there's like, that was a spirit of perversion. I can tell you right now what that spirit was. I already know exactly what it was. I recognize it very,
it had
well.
that kind of, I remember when I'd done a couple of videos around that same time. Remember when they had that Lilith statue over at that City Hall in New York, and then they had the Diablo game was coming out around that same time, and it was all about Lilith, the mother of demons. And I said it has a very similar look to that. And yeah, maybe it's like, I think it is. And I said I think we always have to be kind of careful about this. Is we talk about Nephilim and stuff, and angels and fallen angels, and I think that's why there's not more about them in the Bible, is because there is this allure about them that they are superheroes. Like, I mean, I think that's why like the Marvel stuff is such a hit, because yeah, there's something about like something that's kind of human, but it's kind of not, and it's better than us, and not better than us in that kind of way, but you know what I'm saying, like that there's power in it, and there is this allure, and yeah, I think that's why it's dangerous, and I think that's why like the Bible tells you not to research angels too much, because yeah, we know that the angels are like basically the gods of these other religions. Demons are the gods of these other religions.
I was gonna say there's something very fascinating to this musical trance dance and this kind of stuff that exists. And like I don't listen to music. I've made songs before and made things before, and like but for the most part, like I try to avoid musical enticement, because there is a spell that pulls you in. There's an allure that pulls you in. And like that type of, when you get pulled into certain types of musical perspective, the feeling, it makes you dumb. Okay. I'm going to tell you something right now. Like there's all the science that are people like, writing music is different. Listening to music makes you dumb. Writing music can make you smart because there's intelligence to it. But sometimes listening to music, literally, what it does is it causes you to go to a vegged out state, where I know this is like super like, people will be like, what? Like you go into this vegged out state where you're no longer here in your body. You're no longer present. You're in this state of, it's almost like a drug. And you're in a state of like disassociation. You're like listening to the music, you're avoiding. And like your brain's a muscle, guys. The less you use it, the less it grows. The more you use your brain, the more it grows. Like this is literally how your brain works. Just like your muscles work, use your brain, it grows. If you are listening to music all the time, you are going to be stupid. Okay, I'm being completely honest. Like I know it sounds like controversial, whatever you want to say. I don't care, because like people that are constantly in the state of absorbing data or information aren't in the state of listening. They're in the state of disassociating and feeling. So if you want to get smarter, stop listening to music. That's a bull lie where they say, "Oh, listen to classical music; it will make you smart." No, it won't. Don't listen to any music, and be with yourself and the Lord. You'll learn to hear the Lord's voice so much more clearly if you stop listening to music. I'm so serious right now. This is a spiritual tip for anybody that wants to understand this. If you want to hear God's voice more clearly, stop listening to all of the music, and just like sit with yourself, sit with your thoughts, sit with your heart, sit with your feelings. Like there's a difference between making music and listening to it. When you constantly are consuming it, it drives you into this void space. It teaches you to channel.
That's interesting, because I like music. I'm a person who's always liked music, and I think that, but I do notice on my commutes a lot of times, I think maybe just because of what we do, I feel the necessity to continue to learn. So like sometimes it's like, because I do feel like that you throw some music on, you kind of veg a little bit. But like if I say, you know what, I bought all these audiobooks, I should probably start listening to them, or I should listen to a podcast or something like that. And I should, because I'm sure when I do listen to those things, my brain has, I believe if God's given me anything, He's given me the ability to put pieces of the puzzle together and make different connections. And so obviously, I'm sure the podcasts I make are much better when I'm actually actively using my brain, because I've had something that's like, oh, I call Bryan up. Oh, check this out. I just made a connection here, and I do think, yeah, it's absolutely true. It's like everything we use more, it becomes stronger. I mean, there's a point where you need to rest, obviously, but I do believe that, yeah, your brain's a muscle, your body's a muscle, your spirit's basically a muscle. Like if you ignore those kind of the components, the three real components of your body, or who makes up the person of you, yeah, those things will get weak. Yeah. Yep. So like, yeah, I would say that exercise, but yeah, like there's really something here. And of course I didn't really kind of plan on having like a musical theme in here, but it is interesting how it worked out like that. That is something really interesting though, because it's not somebody in my mid 40s. Actually, no, I take it back. I did see some people I know on social media go into this musical festival in like Orlando, and I see some of that stuff, and I'm like, this is such a weird kind of counterculture to me, anyways. That there's these giant festivals, and yeah, like I can't help but think that these festivals are all about doing drugs and just taking out glow sticks or whatever, and just like, yeah, I mean, and if you think about it, like the imagery they're showing you, if you don't think people are getting possessed by demons up in those places, like, I mean,
oh, they totally are.
have you paid attention to anything we've said? It's like, because you think about like all the wicked stuff that could be suggested in those in the lyrics, and even if there's not lyrics, it's kind of like the vibrations, the frequencies that these people are obviously intentional of knowing how it can manipulate people. Yeah, you always hear about these festivals. It's just like people are going there in general. And like I said, in general, I'm not going to say 100% of the time, they are going there to sin. And we know that obviously all sin's basically the same in the eyes of the Lord. But that being said, we know that when sin begets sin, it can get really bad. And it's like, yeah, people are really opening themselves up, and they're really vulnerable in these places. And it's scary. And it's like, yeah, I just think about like Romans 1, and it talks about people being given over to a debased mind. And when you see that stuff, and again, I admit there's a bit of an allure to it, but when you're tripping out on whatever you're tripping out on, and that stuff doesn't kind of freak you out a little bit, like, hey, maybe this is not healthy for my spirit, like that I'm seeing these giant evil looking entities. Like, it's kind of like, could they be more obvious that this is not of God?
Dude, they're doing spells. They're straight doing spells in front of people, and they don't even see it. And like it's so in your face. And by the way, guys, like I used to be a performer on stage. Like I would go to festivals like that, and they would hire me as like a performer. I'd do like tricks with fire and dancing and lightsabers or whatever. But like the Lord, one of the things he told me when I came to him, he was like, none of that. He was like, straight up, like, you're done. Like that is done. And I was like, but God, like I could do it and like praise you with it and give the attention to you, Lord. And God's like, no, don't even be a part of it. Like, well, what if I go to like, Burning Man festivals and like talk about God? God's like, no, don't even
don't go to Burning Man festivals.
Yes. Don't have nothing to do with it, because it's not, it literally says in the word, it says have nothing to do. It says, don't even eat with these people. Right. It says like, it literally says to have like, to separate yourself. It says that you are a unique people. Okay. You're sanctified. It says, and people are like, oh, well, we can have Christian rave festivals. You know what it says? It says, do not worship me like the pagans do.
Yeah.
That's what it says. So people are like, oh, we want to do this Christian rave and have this. You think more people are going to go to the Christian rave and then be like, hey, Jesus rave time is fun? Or do you think they're going to go to the Christian rave and then they're going to be like, hey, this was cool. What else is there? Like, in fact, you're going to be a gateway to children going the opposite direction. Then you're going to be a people pulling people out of the rave scene, because the Lord wants nothing to do with that. Because all of that ritualistic practice is satanic in nature. All of it is demonic. You can feel it when you have the Holy Spirit in you. You recognize that it's demonic, and it's like you don't have to be blind to see it. Like, bro, like you're literally, there's demonic things pulling people into that feeling, into that sensation, that desire of disassociation. That is the demonic trance. That is the demon. That's how it gets into you. Like, and so like I know, because I was a performer. I literally did this stuff. And so like God's like wants nothing to do with that world. That is that is Satan. That is praise to Satan.
Yeah, I would say that in the same way, it's like that. Yeah, if you have a Christian rave, then people would say, well, raves are fine, right? Raves can be Christian. So like, if it's not that bad, then it's not of the devil. But yeah, like we know this industry, and as we've shown you different examples of the levels of the wickedness in this industry, when you see it openly, kind of like just glorifying just evil entities. Like, it's funny, like the Burning Man thing. I did a video a while back talking about St. Patrick's Day, and I was talking about the Druids. And so Julius Caesar wrote about this thing called the Wicker Man. The Wicker Man they used to do. And it was some big effigy, like this big wicker statue where people were literally stuffed into, and then they lit the thing on fire. So is that where the Burning Man thing came from?
Probably.
Yes, obviously it did. I mean, like, what else? What else could it mean? So yeah, and back in the day, they, at the Burning Man festival, they burn a giant wicker type thing, but they don't put people in. I guess, as far as I know, they don't.
People run into the fire. Actually, there's been reports of people like have ran into the fire and killed themselves during the Burning Man festivals. People die at the Burning Man festivals.
Oh, I'm sure they do. I mean, as far like driving out in the middle of the desert, like where are they even? Where would they even go if anything bad happened to them?
Bro, there was a really disturbing thing at the Burning Man festival I went to that I heard about, that there was a dude that hung himself at one of the booths, and everyone thought it was a prop. They thought it was like just some weird prop thing, and the dude hung there until he started to rot after a few days.
Oh my god!
And then they realized it wasn't a prop.
Well, I mean, doesn't that tell you kind of all you need to know? Is like that no one would find that unusual at a place like that?
Bro, they thought it was like a fake thing. They're like, "Oh, this is really good art.
Well, it's pretty.
Looks like a real person.
Good makeup and art and thing."
Yeah,
but it's like,
no, it's a dead dude hanging there. Like, do you know how many demons and how many people like went by that and like got demonic curses put on them, like just from being in that presence on drugs against a dead person? Like, dude, it's so evil. Like, people have no clue how much. Like, it is so pagan debaucherous, and like a lot of Christians want to be like, oh, let's go to these things and spread Jesus to these lost souls. Dude, they're not in the place to receive Jesus, bro. Like, Jesus didn't go to the strip clubs to worship, to call people to him, bro. He hung out with the tax collectors in their house that were repentant. Okay, he didn't go to the tax collector's house while the tax collector's having some pagan debauchery party, y'all. Okay, these people were on the road of repentance, coming out of their wickedness that Jesus went to. It wasn't like he like, hey, let's go to the strip club and praise the Lord.
Yeah.
Like,
no,
what kind of wickedness is that? Like, there's so many people that misconstrue the perspective of the Lord. If God's calling you to go to Burning Man, like, awesome. Like, maybe maybe there's some one person or whatever that the Lord is calling you to go speak to. And maybe that's your mission. Maybe. Okay. Like, I'm not going to put it past it, but for the most part, most Christians stay away from this stuff. Okay. Most Christians do not do this. You are participating in things you don't know in the spiritual realm that are well beyond like demonic nature that you even have a comprehension of, because you can't see in the spirit. You can't see in the spirit. You can't hear in the spirit. You can't feel in the spirit. How are you going to know what you're doing when you're participating in this stuff? Like, bro, I can hear in the spirit, but only it's like a cloudy mist to me still. Okay. So like, I know things in the spirit, but I'm never 100% about it. Like, I don't even know fully what it is. Like, when I deal with spiritual matters, like I have to get revelation from the Lord and pray about it until he confirms it with his word, and then boom, or confirms it with something that happens afterwards. And I'm like, wow, okay, that really happened. Like, whoa, that was real. But like, like the things of the spirit, we as humans are limited to. So don't dabble in stuff that you don't know as Christians. If you feel wrong in your spirit, hey, I don't think I should do this. Don't do it. Period. That's it. Like, if you feel like, hey, this is wrong, stay away. Like, that's it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I would say that in general, like, I do know the sick need a physician, but at the same time, like, yeah, are they in the right mind frame? Because it's kind of like that you might be just casting your pearls before swine if you go when they're literally going to sin. Now,
like
maybe
going
the
on
day,
drugs, possessed.
maybe go try to find them the day after the Burning Man festival. After
that would be great. That's
then
great.
Then you really have an opportunity probably to reach some people, but yeah, not in the midst of it. It's like you're more likely to get influenced than they are. And on that note, I'm gonna play one more video, and this is gonna kind of be just maybe a little bit of palate cleanser. And this is actually going to be a shout out to my buddy Ceiling Fan Man, and he's going to probably really enjoy this video.
Ceiling Fan Man, love it.
Panda bears.
Clearly they're fake.
Literally.
No.
Do you want to hear my argument?
Yeah.
All right, I'm not saying they're like fake. Like I think that animals exist that are. I just think they're like Shih Tzus. They're like completely lab, like bred to be that, because they only ovulate like 3 days a year. Mm-hmm. They sleep or eat 23 hours a day. They can't defend themselves. They only eat bamboo, and a group of them is called an embarrassment of pandas. And they don't exist in Chinese history before like 1870.
Interesting. And how do they survive? They seem like such an incompetent like animal that no way they could survive.
They're and this is one of those things where if I say it, people are like, "Oh, you're an idiot." And like every couple weeks, someone will text me like, "Dude, look at this video. They literally are like retarded."
I'm gonna go find some panda videos and send them to you now.
Yeah, they just like roll down hills.
Did you see the video? I think it was China. They put dogs and painted them like pandas, and they were faking them at a zoo, and they got in trouble. It was amazing.
Dude, everyone writes it to me. I'm like, okay, every panda in the world's owned by China. Mm-hmm. I'm like, so like they own the genetics of it. They started rolling it out in like 47. They sent everyone a panda. It was called panda diplomacy. Pan is like the demon, like pan, like pandemic, pandemonium. I think they might have been bred to eat bamboo because bamboo is hard to clear.
So maybe they wanted to clear the bamboo.
Yeah, and then everyone's like, well, they're black, white, Asian, and docile. Let's roll this out as like the model citizen,
Perfect for Asia, yeah. It seems a little crazy, but it's possible.
Dude,
the fact of them surviving makes no sense. Like, how the fuck's a panda
they don't
gonna survive?
ovulate. They don't F.
Yeah, they won't breed in captivity,
They won't
right?
breed. They get them to F. They're like, they're lazy. I've always despised them. And so I'm like, dude.
Everyone else thinks they're cute, and you're like, these pandas.
Oh, dude, people are like, oh, save the panda. I'm like, dude, they're useless. I despise them.
Yeah, they are pretty useless. They're just cute, but.
Allegedly.
The dog ones were cuter.
Dog pandas. I think red pandas were a valid species, but I think they've been bred into an abomination.
I don't know, man. I'm gonna have to research this one.
You never heard that pandas are fake, Brian?
No, I've never heard that one. Actually, no.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that Ceiling Fan Man, my friend, he says that they're sus, and I have agreed after the fact that they literally painted dogs black and white, and they were pretending to be pandas. Or not the dogs were pretending to be pandas. Like somebody pretended that these dogs were pandas. And at their zoo, it's like, why couldn't they just get more pandas? I'm pretty sure that they're not like, they could, keep them safe there. So like they could have more, but for some reason they would need to do that at the zoo. Like, why would they need to do that with dogs? There's also been other stories where people believe that the pandas are guys in suits. I've seen videos like that where it very clearly looks like somebody wearing a costume. It's not an actual animal.
Have you seen a baby panda though? They're so tiny. They're tiny. They're like this big.
Really?
Baby pandas? Yeah. And they're marsupials. And so they're born and they look like they're the tiniest little babies when they're born. And then they like hang on their stomachs like some weird way, like marsupials kind of. They look like little marsupial things. Like they're so small, and I think they might even have a pouch potentially. I don't remember, or it's like something in their hair or in their stomach or something that they hang on to. But they're so small, and they're like, it is an unusual creature. I'm gonna have to look into how they genetically connect, because it is a funny name.
Panda conspiracy. You need to, because he's right. Obviously, I've seen so many videos that the pandas, if you actually see like a compilation of pandas doing stupid things, They're long compilations because it's not unusual for them to do just fall out of trees, just roll and just do weird things. It does look like not because of man, not because men would hunt them. They would not survive.
They are pretty
outside.
dumb seeming.
They would not survive outside. So if that's the truth right now, men doesn't hunt them. They would not survive. So therefore, I think it's not crazy to suggest that they could be bred like a dog to be this kind of cute bear, because otherwise it's because they do seem very they're the way that they are bred is very impractical, and they're cute, but they're stupid. They're really stupid.
They're like, aren't they in the same family as koalas or something like that?
Well, if they are, I mean, that's
similar?
if they're marsupials, then I guess they would be. But at the same time, it's like there's a pretty big ocean that separates China and Australia. I don't think koalas are anywhere else besides Australia. As we mentioned on the one that kangaroos are cryptids, there's a bunch of weird stuff down under.
That's true.
Like those kind of animals too. That there's questionable. I don't know. It's only questionable because it's so weird.
So it says, no, a panda is not a marsupial, but a placenta mammal and a true bear. I guess it's somehow a true bear. I don't know. Pandas are classified as mammals in the order of Carnivora and family of Ursidae, making them bears. Marsupials are separate group of mammals. But apparently pandas, they just have little tiny pink babies that are so tiny. They look like they're full when their babies are born. They look like still like a fetus in the womb kind of when they're born.
Yeah.
And they're so small. Yeah, it's a very strange birthing process and a baby situation with pandas.
I mean that does kind of make me think like certain dogs that what is it? Is it pugs or something like that they don't even give birth naturally or something like that because like the heads
That's
don't
what
fit.
they seem like.
Yeah, like there's something wrong. Like there's something where, I mean, we get it. I mean, people breed dogs and they breed dogs unusually, and then that's why a lot of times you have these dogs with these really bad, just normal genetics that are just messed up, and these certain dogs always have these certain problems. Because they were not really meant to be. It was man's creation. So why couldn't it be something like that, some zoo animal? Like why would we be surprised about that? I guess it's like you get to the point of like, Jesus already came back. Yes, the Earth's flat, but no, I don't want to believe that the pandas could be fake.
I don't know.
There's no way that they would do that. I mean, you want to believe in something obviously pandas do look cute, but when you start to unpack all the lies, why would they spray paint dogs black and white unless they were kind of like a fake thing?
I don't know. Maybe they just can't make them. Maybe there's I gotta research this. I gotta research the topic and see if there's something unique, because there is uniqueness to the name panda. And so it's like, I don't know. I got to look into it. It's a very, very suspicious. It is subtly sus, we'll say.
Panda and pandemic is pretty close. Isn't it? That's a little bit weird, isn't it?
That is strange. I mean, I know there's a thing like biblically we can talk about that where the creatures that were genetically created came out of a whirlwind, and they were not fully. They said they were from the middle up. They were like, or from the middle down, they were like children of men, and from the middle up, they were like bears or kifas. And so, that's a suspicious, could be some kind of genetically thing, weird thing. I mean, we only discovered gorillas 200 years ago, so I mean, I don't know.
A lot of weird stuff going on with the primates, I would say too. Maybe that's a good place for us to end, and also potentially tease the new podcast that's coming out soon. You want to tell people about that, Bryan?
Yeah, guys. So we're kicking off the Ancient Angels podcast. And so we're going to be discussing all things Nephilim, demons, ghosts, and whatever kind of falls in ancient history, forgotten stuff, and whatever falls into that category of Nephilim-esque things. So if you want to be a part of this podcast, follow me on my YouTube, which is Demon Erasers, at Demon Erasers on YouTube. And we're going to be kicking off this podcast and starting it right here very soon. So you guys can jump in. And our first episode is probably going to be discussing basic Nephilimology, I guess, and getting a basis down so that way people can understand everything. And because like the Nephilim guys it's bred into everything in our culture, like in our society and our perspective and of reality and everything, and to demons and to ghosts and to all this stuff. And so we want to just be able to teach people and break it down in a way that you guys will be like, yeah, that's totally Nephilim.
Yeah, 100%. It's like, I feel like this is continuing on the theme of like when I came up with the idea of JT's mixtape, was like, this is a very obvious thing that we should have been doing a long time ago. Why we didn't do an Ancient Angels podcast a long time ago about talking about the stuff we did. I think maybe, if I'm being honest, obviously I'm sure the reason we didn't do it is because we thought like we're going to go right into the next movie and we don't want to use stuff on the podcast that we would use in a movie. But I think at this point, I think we can.
There's so much information.
This will actually probably give us more incentive to do more movies in that kind of genre. But yeah. So if you guys are interested in that sort of thing, I think sometimes me and Bryan can, like, we know a lot about this and we don't talk about it that much because we have already learned this. So I think what we're going to do with Ancient Angels, the podcast, is we're going to kind of go right through, like the first episode will be like Nephilim 101. And we're going to kind of like, so if you guys don't know a lot about that, and I think that obviously the things are going to build upon there. And yeah, I do think it's a great opportunity to talk about cryptid stuff more, talking about paranormal type things and just weird kind of things. Alien stuff, I think obviously will all fit into that genre. So I think we're going to try to have more different places. And if you guys want to check that podcast out, I'm likely going to put it on my own audio stuff. So if you guys want to hear that, but if you want to watch it, you want to watch the first episodes, you're going to have to go over to Demon Erasers, subscribe to his channel, and we're going to put all of those podcasts over there. So yeah, I think I'm excited because I think it's going to be fun because I think we're going to get a variety of guests. And, Bryan and I know a lot about this kind of stuff, but I think we're interested in hear different perspectives and just kind of see where it goes. So if you guys are into that sort of thing, which I know you probably are, guys, go subscribe to Bryan's channel. And so I'm excited about that. I think there's a lot more fun things we're going to be working on. So anyways, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this podcast. Like I said, if you guys like the stuff we're doing, please subscribe to each of our channels, follow us on X, send us videos if you want us to try to talk about them on this podcast. But otherwise, guys, appreciate you guys. God bless.